Gotcha.
Welcome to the October 31st meeting of the Kingsport Kiwanis Club. Glad to have everybody here today, and I know everybody knows it's Halloween Day, but what else is the National Day of? I didn't get that. National Frankenstein Day.
So here we go. Thank you all for being here, because you could have chose to be anywhere, but you came here this afternoon. So thank you. It's good to see your smiling faces out there. We're going to introduce Coach Brenda Mock-Brown. Coach Mock-Brown was named head coach of ETSU women's basketball on August 8th, 2022, becoming just the 10th head coach in program history. In just 3 seasons, she has guided the Buccaneers to 60 wins, including a top 3 Southern Conference finish in 2024 and 25. Her teams have ranked among the top 20 nationally in scoring defense for 3 consecutive years, and she became the fastest coach in ETSU history to reach 50 wins. Before ETSU, Coach led UNC Asheville from 2012 to 2020, capturing 2 Big South tournament titles and a regular season championship. She earned the Big South Coach of the Year honors in 2016 and is the only coach in NCAA women's basketball history to lead 2 programs to 15-plus win season turnarounds. She's amassed a collegiate head coaching record of 171 wins over 11 seasons. Prior to her head coaching roles, she held an assistant position at Florida, Charlotte, Jacksonville, Georgia Tech, also contributing to multiple NCAA and WNIT tournament appearances. As a player at Wake Forest, she was a 2-time captain and an academic all-district selection, earning honorable mention on her all-ACC honors as a senior. We were talking earlier, she's a native of Waynesville, North Carolina, and a graduate of Tuscaloosa High School. She was declared a decorated multi-sport athlete and record-setting scorer. She and her husband, Jeremy, enjoy being active in the Johnson City community and supporting ETSU student athletes on and off the court. So if you hear those stats, I know they might not be popular what I'm about to say, but they're very impressive to who else's birthday it is today. It's Nick Saban's birthday. A lot of wins. So if you would please stand and join me in welcoming Coach Mock-Brown.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. That was a great introduction. Thank you. Honored to be here. I was here a couple of years ago, I think at about the same weekend. So getting ready to kick off the season officially on Monday, November 3rd against Elon. It's at home. So that's the first time we're opening at home in my tenure as head coach. We're usually on the road playing someone like South Carolina, Kentucky. Actually, that Kentucky game wasn't bad. We were up 9 in the 3rd quarter, so I pretty much blew that one. Could have won that game. And then last year it was NC State, also just down 10 going into the 4th quarter. We ended up losing by 20, but we were right in there. So it's going to be neat to open at home on Monday. So that's at 7 o'clock if anybody wants to drive down to Johnson City. Again, thank you, Pete, for having me up here. You all are pleasant, and you're great encouragers. I feel like a million in singles when I walk in here because you guys have encouraged me and told me how great of a job I did, but it also put a lot of pressure on me. So now I don't want to let you down with what I'm going to say today. You all know, and Matt read off a lot of kind of what's gone on in the program in the past 3 seasons. It was really neat when I came here a couple of years ago. We had just come off that record-breaking season. It was 25-10. And rather kind of a miracle because I was hired in August, and that's unusual to hire a women's basketball coach at the collegiate level in August when school's about to start. So inherited staff and team, and we did a lot of great work that year. And I just love, and you said this, my husband and I, Jeremy, we love the Johnson City community. So I know the community more than I did when I was speaking to you 2 years ago. And I just love it. We joined a church, Redstone Church, great people. I don't know if it's a smaller church in Johnson City, but we just made great friends and really appreciate the fact that here, as opposed to some of the other places that I've been, and Matt read off all of the places that I have been, women's basketball and ETSU athletics in this East Tennessee area are very, very important. and we feel very, very supported by the community. We'll always take more fans. So if it's not you, please tell anyone who comes to Johnson City or anybody who supports ETSU athletics. We really crave that support. We appreciate that support. One of the aspects of our ETSU experience that our student athletes talk about quite frequently when asked, what is your favorite thing about ETSU? And you may not think, this may not occur to you, but the first thing about half the team said last year is the Johnson City community. They feel supported by the community. So for these young women, that is critically important for them. So today I'm just going to talk about the program a little bit. I'll breeze through the kind of what we've done in the past 3 years. I've got that up here, but I want to get to what our program is about in terms of our culture and the core values that we build our culture of the program around. Culture building is difficult. Why is it even? It's difficult when you have returning, team members to your team year after year, but it's incredibly difficult in this climate of college athletics that is rapidly changing. So for context, who's heard of the transfer portal? You all have heard of the transfer portal, and nobody's excited about it. Me neither. Okay, I can say that in this room. And the fact that student athletes that are on full scholarship can also get paid now from the athletic. So you have a lot of transfers. You have a lot of student athletes making decisions with that financial aspect in mind versus just, hey, I'm going to look at ETSU, and I'm going to look at Tennessee Tech and line those programs up. They're going to still do that, but then also, what can each one of those programs offer me financially? That's a game changer. So I bring that up to say our rosters are changing quite a bit. So when I was at UNC Asheville, our rosters would change maybe 3 or 4 players each year. You replace the seniors that were graduating with incoming freshmen, and now that is not the case. So it's a game changer. So culture and building culture and being able to do that quickly is very, very important. So let's get to a little bit of what you all know. I just wanted to give you context where I've been, perhaps for the Q&A portion, if you've been in any of these places or have any questions about those experiences. Had wonderful experiences at all places, and obviously very proud to be your head coach here at ETSU now. So I just wanted to talk how many of you have led or are leading people? You have staffs, and it's so critically important, because I always tell our staff, if we can be consistent, if we can be disciplined, if we can model what we would like our student athletes, how we would like for them to behave, if there can be alignment there, that is critically important. I have a wonderful staff, diverse staff, and a staff that is competent but caring about these student athletes. One young lady I want to point out, I've got my first former player on staff. So kind of neat, right, to have a coach on staff that played for me. I recruited her at UNC Asheville. That's Nadiria Evans. And actually, Coach Honey Brown, you'll never forget that name, right? Coach Honey Brown worked with me at UNC Asheville. She became the head coach there and was the head coach when I left for 4 years. And they actually let her go, and she came back. So Nadiria is working with 2 former head coaches. That's a lot of bosses, isn't it? So can you imagine that? You're a former player, and you're working for one of your former head coaches and working with a former head coach. So quite the dynamic. But people are important. Alignment is important, and I just wanted to thank them, even though they're not here, because I have a wonderful staff. Something I wanted to highlight here, these are accolades, and I'm not putting those up there to pat myself on the back, though, again, if you want to give me some encouragement, it's good. But the Brooks Gym, so who's been to Brooks Gymnasium on the campus of ETSU? Really unique building. When recruits come to Brooks Gym, they don't always appreciate Brooks Gym because it may not look like the arenas of Tennessee or even most of the schools in our conference, Stanford, Wofford, Western Carolina, Mercer, and so on. But what makes Brooks Gym special? See all those people there, and our opponents don't like coming to Brooks Gym to play because it's a really tough environment. So we're 30-7 in the past 3 years at home. And probably two or three of those losses are my fault. They were close losses that we probably could be, 33-4. So I wanted to point that out because when you all come, it makes a huge difference because that's a big selling point in our recruiting. Tremendous. And Brooks would probably say the same. Brooks Savage would probably say the same thing about Freedom Hall, but really thinking about that small environment in Brooks Gym, people attending the games and supporting the young ladies, that creates the atmosphere that opponents do not like. So that's kind of neat. So we talked about the turnaround. So those are some of the things. It's we are a defensive-minded program. And then this past summer, and we didn't score enough. I felt like we got to score a little bit more. So I started working on the offense a little bit more when the kids got there in July. And we played our first couple of practice scrimmages. One was against Wake Forest, and then the other was against App State, and we gave up 145 points in 2 games. So I don't know if I'm on the right track with that. I might need to go back to what I was doing. I thought, we got our defense, and then we're still going to work on that, but we're going to be a better scoring team, and we've given up, Now, those are pretty good teams, but giving up too many points. So this is, from last year's group, this is amazing. So this is their cumulative GPA. There's about a 361 Division I women's basketball teams, and we were 26th in the nation in our cumulative GPA. So this is what I'm really proud of. When I got to ETSU, no knock on the prior coaching staffs and players, but we were at about a 2.8. And I said, that's not good enough. We're going to restructure some things, and this is what these young ladies are here to do. That's what they're taking with them. And it's not that every student's going to be a 4.0 student. I want every student to be their very best. So if you're a 3.5, get a 3.5, not a 2.9. And so we really hold them accountable for their work in the classroom and set up structures for them to be successful. And we recruit kids that prioritize academics. Okay, so this year's team, from 6 states and 2 countries. We have a young lady from Spain that transferred in. That's Daniela Lopez, number 7. She is probably going to be, in terms of offense, our best player offensively. She's been tremendous. She was at Xavier for a couple of years, and we got her out of the portal. We also have Gemma Grutner, Gemma Bakul up there, number 5. She's from Germany. And then we have kids from Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio, Virginia, and Maryland. I think I've gotten all of them. Now, what's your question? What state did I not mention? Hey, we're trying, y'all. That's not for lack of effort. Okay, we've had some obviously recruits from Tennessee on our campus, but we haven't landed one. We didn't land one in that last class. So anyway, so a very diverse team, 7 returners and 7 newcomers. So that's, again, and a lot of people, when I say 7 returners, they say that's a lot, just to give you context. That's Brooks Savage this year was kind of in the boat I was in last year. He has 9 new players on his team this year and 4 returners. Wake Forest, who came and played that exhibition game, they had 2 returners on their roster. Can you imagine? I'm glad I get paid well. Otherwise, I'd be crazy to do this right now, right? So this is our team this year. I'll mention a couple of players. They're all wonderful young ladies, but Megan Downing. Did I talk about Megan? I probably didn't even talk about Megan a couple of years ago. Megan Downing got no other Division I offers. She is our only student athlete that has been here, or only women's basketball player that has been on the roster. This is her 4th year. She's already graduated from ETSU with a 3.9, and she's now pursuing her master's in public administration. She's actually doing an internship. She's in Pete's, I guess. Did Kathy Ball come in after you? Or she's working down there with the city manager and doing an internship and trying to figure out, is this what she wants to do? But the neat thing, she grew up on a fruit farm in Ohio, and from a very young age, learned work ethic from her parents. And they had her out there working the fields, and they had her in the store, in the family store. This is a pretty big farm that they have. So she came in and she has really worked her way into the position she is now. So I'm very proud of Megan. She was on the all defensive team last year. She's preseason all conference this year. She has the single season blocks record at ETSU, and she's 12 blocks away from being the all-time career leading blocks in our program. And again, no one else recruited her. So we're really proud of our player development. And Megan's a lovely young lady. Shy though, right, Pete? Little shy. So, and then another preseason all-conference player, Carmen Richardson from Orlando, Florida. And again, we're excited about, I think, there again, we had, these two were on the preseason all-conference team, but Daniela Lopez, as I told you, would probably be our best scoring player right now. So what I wanted to talk to you all a little bit today about, and I'll be brief. I wanted you to see all of the pillars, but I really want to talk about our culture core values. But we like to give, so when you're thinking about core values, everybody knows 9's too many. So we call these pillars, and we have 3 different categories so the kids can connect with each of those. So we talked about, let's go to the basketball piece. So they have 3 things. It's not that we're not coaching them on some of those other aspects, but we really want to focus on protecting the paint. So if you come to a basketball game, that paint right there inside the free throw line. You want to keep the ball and people out of the paint. Rebounding, and then foul rate is, we were the top team in the SoCon for not fouling. That's where you want to be. So we do not foul. We play pretty disciplined defense. We don't want to give our opponents extra opportunities from the free throw line. And then offensively, pace is really important. Possession, that's valuing possession, the quality of the possession. And this is one, the third one is the one that the players don't like as much, shot quality. Because they just want to take whatever shot they wanted, especially when they come in as freshmen. Now, when they get a little older, they understand valuing possession and taking that the shot represents the team, not just, hey, I'm trying to go out and be the leading scorer and take an undisciplined shot. That's probably the hardest one for today's student athlete, today's basketball player to take ownership of and understand and internalize is, I need to take the very best shot on this possession. So that's something we talk about. The culture core values. So these have been a game changer in our program this year. I've done core values in the past, but I really, this summer before the student athletes came in, I was reflecting on my first 3 seasons, thinking a lot about today's student, and you all interact with today's students, and you're going into schools, and let's be in full transparency, I'm sure we all had challenges when we were in school and when we were coming up, but not these challenges that some of these young ladies and these young men are facing. There are so many demand or choices, so many directions they can go, so many messages that they're receiving that to me are counterproductive for their growth, for being disciplined, for being humble, for being committed and loyal. And so it's a real work. And we want our kids to be kids. They have their own personalities and their own experiences. And so we're not trying to conform them into just one way of thinking, but we are trying to get them to think critically about life, not just on the court, but life after basketball. And we have a great opportunity to have an impact. And so we want to win a championship at ETSU. By the way, that's never been done in the Southern Conference. ETSU women's basketball has never won a Southern Conference championship. But we also, and believe this fully, equally important is to have a positive impact to prepare these young ladies to have a bigger picture perspective, and then therefore go impact in a different way in their lives, in their communities, as wives, as mothers, as co-workers, as CEOs, whatever they're going to be doing. So when I reflected and prayed about these core values, humility, I think, can be overlooked in the workplace. I think it can be overlooked as a central core value, but I really believe it's one that is a foundation and a launching place for any other core value. My ability to see an others-centered world. So it's not, we're all going to take care. I always tell our kids, we're all going to take care of ourselves. We know that that's going to be a checkbox. We're going to take care of ourselves. That's going to be a given. And I know there's a verse, I believe it's in Philippians, where Paul talks about considering others, more greater than you consider yourself. So what I tell our kids, we're going to consider ourselves. That's just human nature. But if we can even get our care level for others to be a fraction of as much as we care for ourselves, how different would the world be? How very different would the world be? And humility factors in too. If I'm prideful and I think I know everything, I can't grow because I cannot learn anything from you. And so we talk a lot with humility about being humble, having a growth mindset versus fixed mindset. A fixed mindset can't grow, can't learn anything from you. Even if I'm doing a great job, I can always learn and grow. And there's a lot of freedom in that as well. So less judgment too, less comparison. These girls compare themselves to anything and everyone because of the social media aspect, and the world is a constant mirror. And I didn't experience that when I was their age. We had other challenges, but not that one. It's a constant comparison. Failure is such an obstacle for these young people. I've not seen much like it. And I don't know if y'all are interacting, but a mistake is such a burden. And we're trying to get them, if I have a humble mindset, I come to the table knowing I've got room to grow. I'm going to make mistakes. I can learn from failure. All of those things. And so it's not so heavy for these girls. So we talk about this one every single day. Now, discipline's right up there. Our habits. These young ladies don't have very good habits. I'm going to be honest with you. They come in, they're on their phones. They don't eat well. They don't go to sleep because they're on their phones. They don't have structure. And I'm not sure if that's, maybe they didn't have structure when they were in high school, or they didn't have a lot of discipline or habits. And so we really talk about that. Be consistently committed to actions that produce results and to demonstrate accountability. And we talk about professionalism. Professional. So yes, it's a fun job, but what they're doing is a job. And so how they show up, can they just simply show up for the 2 or 3 hours a day that we're asking them to and do great work? And that sounds simple. It's not. It's not, because they are not disciplined in their mindset. So they believe it's okay if they're feeling any type of way to be governed by those feelings. And if I'm not feeling good today, then I'm just not going to have a good day. Instead of understanding the reality of the situation, the work is the work. The standard is the standard. It still has to be done. It is not respecting how I feel at that moment. And it's not that I don't care about their emotions. I absolutely do. And we talk about that. But time and place. Because I want them to be prepared when they leave ETSU to go do a great job, to do great work. And they cannot do that if they cannot be consistent. You'll hear coaches across the nation talking about consistency. We're not consistent. So how can we get our kids consistent? We want to talk about their habits, because we're going to always fall to the level of our preparation. And so are we prepared? How do we prepare ourselves? Are we disciplined? Can I do something that I don't feel like doing, basically? So that's something we talk about quite a bit. And then loyalty, and I describe loyalty as love in action. Loyalty, yes, is a feeling of being loyal to an organization, to a school, to the Lord, to your family, to your spouse. But I can say those things, but what I do is far more important. And that's really how I can show love. Because a lot of these kids think love is just the emotion. They don't understand that it's actually what we do over time. It's serving over time. Over time, building my commitments to those different people by showing up every day and being dependable, reliable. That's how I can love someone well. So we talk about being loyal to ETSU. And the reality of the situation is I may only have these girls a year. Okay, well, in that year, we're in the trenches together. We don't have time to, we don't have time to earn trust, and we've got to give trust until it's broken and be loyal to each other. I'll remind them, I don't know how many of you were in the military or served. Well, thank you for your service. But I'm sure you guys didn't sit around demanding relationship before action, right? It's too late. I mean, we're in the foxhole. I can't wait until you prove yourself to me. I've got to trust you because we've got this same name on our chest. And so we got to tell these kids, look, you chose ETSU. You chose to trust when you signed your scholarship papers. You made a commitment. Fulfill your commitment. So that's very, very important, loyalty. So that's why I chose those three, okay? I wanted to talk, I just want to show you, I'm not going to go through all of these, don't worry, don't want to talk you all to death, but the standards that we have, so we have the core values, but we also talk about these 5, and I showed them this picture, and I asked them what it was. And they didn't know what the trellis was. I said, it rhymes with jealous, and you know who ended up finally coming up with it was Megan. She goes, is it a trellis? She whispered, because they don't like to be wrong. That's another, they won't speak up because they're afraid they might make a mistake or it might be wrong. I'm not sure. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't know what the issues are, but there's a lot of fear of what peers are going to think or how they're going to be perceived in front of others. But anyway, so the trellis is what? That you can bear fruit. Where's Pastor? You can bear fruit, right? We bear fruit through the spiritual disciplines, right? Obviously, it's the power of the Holy Spirit, but it's through the spiritual disciplines, too, of reading and praying and connecting and community and meditation, fasting, whatever those things are. And then we begin to bear fruit. Well, the same thing is our habits are going to bear fruit, right? So that's critically important. So we're going to grow if we have the structure to grow. And I think these kids don't understand that. They think they can just show up, the balls are rolled out, and then, hey, let's go. That's not how it works. And so these are some of our positive presence, ownership, communication, growth mindset. And then we're really, really trying to focus on habits because we want to win and we want these kids to show up in a successful way. But I also want them to win in life. And if we can start creating these habits now that aren't natural for them and create some discipline in those, then I think it could change their lives completely. So anyway, this is our schedule for the year. It is teeny because I added that slide at the last minute. So you can go on our website, but a couple things I wanted to point out. We've got Elon Monday. Who's second? Whose eyes can read that? Tennessee. All right. So we are playing them for the first time since I've been here, and they're very good. They're top 10 this year, and I think they beat their exhibition opponent by maybe 100.
Hopefully they got a big check.
Well, it's decent size. So a lot of people ask, why do we go? Do you just go there for the experience? No, I would not go unless they're giving us that check. It's a great experience, but we can visit anytime. We don't have to go play them. So that'll be an experience, and I hope it's a good one. There's always a lot. There's always in every situation, every game, something to be gained and learned. But again, if you don't have the maturity, the discipline, and the mindset for it, that could be a waste of time for us. And we might not be ready. But we're going to have to grow up quick. And then we have some really good games on our schedule. So I would encourage and appreciate you guys checking us out this year. And thanks for having me again. And I think I have maybe a couple minutes for questions. Yes, sir.